he said a whole civilization will die tonight. But even as Trump now says there is no time pressure, that is not the case for Americans and, frankly, civilians all around the world. In the United States, gas prices are up 27% from a year ago. Airline prices are about to surge, too, and flights are getting cut. United Airlines announced it will raise fares as much as 20% this summer, and this is just the beginning, even if the war ends now. Kristen Holmes is out front live from the White House to begin our coverage. And Kristen, what are you learning? Obviously, as we said, you think about the scale of this blockade and what the United States Navy is doing right now. Suddenly, the Secretary of the Navy out with a resign or be fired.
Yeah, that's right. Obviously not good for the Secretary of the Navy. And we're learning some new reporting. You mentioned some of this, which is this idea that there was tension between Pete Hegseth and Phelan. A lot of it stemming from Hegseth wanting him to be quicker, thinking he was too slow on ship reform. But there's another part of this that I think is key. And this is what is always key in a Trump White House, which is proximity to power. And the reason being that Hegseth was annoyed by Phelan because Phelan would go directly to President Trump. Now, remember this. Phelan was not somebody with military experience. He was a donor. He and his wife had raised millions of dollars for President Trump. He had a personal relationship with President Trump. And in Trump's White House, even the top branches of government, the top cabinet officials know that the closer you are in the direct line to Donald Trump, that gives you all of the power. So Hegseth felt like Phelan was going around him, having these direct conversations with President Trump. Now, we're still not entirely sure what option that Phelan went with, whether he resigned or was fired. But of course, we know now he was ousted after these personal tensions amid this ongoing war where the Navy is a central component.
I mean, it is obviously incredible timing. Kristen, thank you very much. Everyone is here with me. General Mark Schwartz, let me just start with you because you spent so much of your military career in the Middle East with special forces. So, the context of this, Phelan out, all this with a resign or be fired, as the reporting is, suddenly in the midst of this massive blockade, at least 15 ships involved in it. I mean, what is the impact of something like that at the Secretary of the Navy at a moment like this?
Well, I think the impact is greater from, an outsider's view of, like you said, the Navy Secretary being removed during a time of war. Down at the CENTCOM level and certainly below that in terms of operations day to day in the Gulf and the CENTCOM area of responsibility, not as big of an impact. But I think the optic, certainly for our enemies, Iran, seeing this, just like, they saw the ousting of the Army Chief of Staff a couple of weeks ago, I think has an impact in terms of there's some instability inside of the department.
Laura, you've covered Iran for more than 20 years. Obviously, you're senior editor at The Atlantic. When the general talks about how this lands in Tehran, when they look at something like this, what is the significance of that? Someone who's at the top of the U.S. Navy, the optics of that being out.
Yeah, it's not a great look, especially not at a time when there's sort of so much confusion about what the U.S. objectives seem to be and where its red lines lie in advance of these negotiations. It does project a bit of chaos.
Brett, as you've been involved with negotiations with Iran during both the Obama and Biden administrations, and you've been in the rooms where the negotiations happen, what do you think the impact of something like this is? Obviously there is a bit of an irony, right, in the fact that we're being told no one knows who's running things in Tehran when the U.S. is doing things like just kicking out its Secretary of the Navy in the midst of the biggest blockade in 7